Hello everybody, my name is Mike. If you're new here, our family, the Leopards, we live full-time on the road on this caravan over here. It is currently the middle of winter. We've not had too much extreme weather yet, but we get a lot of questions about living on the road in the winter. Why do we choose to park in the coldest places, like up in the mountains? It's pretty chilly here today. It's only about 5 degrees around midday, but we love the snow, we love the hoarfrost, but we have to manage a lot. Our batteries, the solar, freezing water pipes, there's all kinds of different things that go on, and we've been getting condensation. We've been getting a lot of questions about that recently, so I thought let's just put together a bit of a video explaining why we choose to be up here in the cold and how we deal and manage and cope with it. Yeah, camping, traveling, caravanning in the wintertime definitely presents quite a few problems. It is not for everyone. We choose it because we love it. We love the adventures of the snow and even just the problems that the winter can create. It is definitely not for everyone. A lot of people see what we get up to and think they'd like to do it for themselves, and then realise maybe it isn't for them. It's not so fun after all, being in the freezing cold. So I've made myself a bit of a list here so that I can get at the top things. So we've got condensation, batteries and solar, water pipes, how we stay warm, and just living in a tiny space with 3 children, 2 adults, when it's dark early, it's cold early, or all day. Yeah. So the first main problem that we face is condensation. Our first winter, we realised that our clothes were going moldy. Anything connected to the outside of the caravan, the floor, the walls, was soaking wet just because of the cold air trying to come inside. And then the caravan being pretty warm inside just created a lot of moisture, and it's pretty problematic. With these Australian-made caravans, condensation is just a major problem. We've not really met anyone in an Australian caravan that is not dealing with condensation. There are a few things that you can do, but you cannot really eliminate condensation, I don't think. We have some matting that we got from the RV store. It costs about $100 for a roll. It is the season of condensation, and many of you ask us how we deal with it. We buy this stuff. It's New Zealand product for anti-condensation mat. It's not sponsored. We had to pay for it too. We got it from the RV store here, and I'm just cutting up some pieces to put in our cupboards. That's the main area that we get condensation, is in our cupboards where our clothes are, and also like anything attached to the floor. We put it underneath Toby's bed because his bed is basically on the ground, and we put it against the side wall of all of the beds because the side will also make the kids' mattresses condensate, or they'll get wet from condensation from the outside wall. We've also put it in our clothing cupboards. Many people choose to use different products. We've also used bubble wrap in the past. Our friends use carpet tiles. Pretty much anything that you can create a barrier so the outside is not touching the things that you are trying to keep dry on the inside. We're lucky that our caravan windows are double glazed, so we don't deal with condensation on our windows. But some people that do, they buy those little Karcher yellow vacuums that suck the water up. I think that's quite helpful. Another thing that we've done on the floor is we just buy cheap shower mats from Kmart or the warehouse. They're normally like $8, $9, $10 each, and that way we can put them through the washing when they get kind of muddy from kids coming inside, or even adults coming inside with dirty feet, dirty shoes, and it just creates a barrier on the floor for us. I really think there's a great opportunity for these Aussie vans to up the specs on the insulation of them, so that way they're a bit warmer. They don't condensate as much. I think composite panels, they've got a bit more foam. Maybe they work a little bit better, but we've not had one of those. If you've got one, then let us know your tricks about dealing with condensation, because that would be helpful when people can read through the comments. So managing the battery system and the solar. So we have got 1,000 watts of solar panels on the roof of our caravan, and we have 400 amp hours of lithium batteries. Our batteries are stored underneath our bed, which is good because a lot of the Aussie vans have batteries on the outside of the caravan. That was with our old caravan, and so they're really out in the cold. The cold weather really works against you in every way. Batteries are a lot slower to charge. They discharge their power a lot quicker. And so the cold weather really makes it hard. So having batteries inside is pretty helpful to help keep the temperature on them up. The difference between being in the South Island in the winter and the North Island is the sun. The sun really does not come up anywhere near high enough to capitalise getting good solar. Last winter we were in Central Plateau. I think we used our generator twice to top our batteries up. Like, we were getting enough solar to get by. Down here we're not. We're probably only gaining about 15% battery capacity on a sunny day. So that is how much different the angle is. With 1,000 watts on the roof, we're still only getting 15%. Normally we're probably dropping about 20 to 25% overnight. That's partly because our fridge is a compressor fridge and it runs off the batteries too. So that's a constant draw. Having internet, that's a constant draw. And then you're just inside earlier at night using lights, all of that kind of stuff. You're just using a lot more power. We have not met anyone that's got a setup down here that's going, oh, we don't have any problems, we've got more than enough solar. There are some solutions. We have chosen to just go with the generator. It might mean that we run our generator for half an hour, 45 minutes in the morning, and then maybe an hour, hour and a half at night, and that is generally enough to top us back up. Some of our friends that we're camping with at the moment have got solar blankets, which are great. They you can angle them right into the sun. You do need a solar controller that's wired in through to your battery system, so all the power is running through correctly. We just have chosen to not go down that road because it's another thing for us to cart around the country for the year, and it's really probably about a 10 to 12 week window that solar is really hard down here. Once we've got through, to August, the days are increasing enough that we're able to charge up again, which is helpful. We're fogged in, we're in thick cloud or it's raining. We're going to have to run our generator probably twice as long to be able to get through. We're trying to not let the batteries die too much, otherwise it feels like it's a long time to come back up. Our generator can only really put in about 40 amps of power into our batteries. So you think if we're at 400 amp hour batteries, it's going to take us 10 hours of running our generator full time if we were like almost flat to get them back up. So we'd rather just try and top it up bit by bit. A little bit of etiquette on generator use in campsites. It's on a sunny day and people are running generators all day to get their batteries topped up. It's usually better if there's a lot of people around. It's usually better to run those generators in the evening when people have gone inside again. It doesn't matter, you run your generator for 2 or 3 hours and that's generally going to be enough to be able to get you through the night. But if it's cloudy, rainy day, obviously everyone's inside, you just run them and then it is what it is, but it's something to think about. I'll just show you the angle of the sun. It's 11:30 in the morning. Look at how long my shadow is. 11:30. You think in the middle of summer, your shadow is you don't really have one. Mine is stretching all the way over there, and that's how high up the sun is. It is not very high in the sky, is it? It should be up there somewhere, but it's down there. And that's why the angle of the sun onto those solar panels is just not enough to give them a lot of charge. I think we usually are getting, on a nice clear sky, about 300 watts out of our 1,000 coming in at around that midday kind of peak. Between 11 o'clock to 2:30 is kind of your best chance of getting solar, and we're only getting about 30% capacity. Finding a powered site's another option. Let your batteries run low, go find somewhere cheap to plug into power, or go to a campground, have those long hot showers, get your batteries charged up, then you're good to go for your next little adventure. Managing water in the winter can be quite problematic because things freeze. Water pipes can freeze. Even just getting access to water can be a problem. So we try and keep our caravan water tanks as full as we can. Sometimes the public dump stations, the water pipes all freeze. You might get a -6, -7 frost overnight, and then you might be clouded in the morning, and those pipes never defrost. They just can stay frozen for days, and you can't even get access to water. That's same with even just emptying things like your toilet cassette. There's no water available to even rinse them out. So we've made it to the dump station and everything's frozen. All the taps are frozen. Trying to rinse this toilet cassette is a problem. We still have water in the caravan, so I'm gonna go and fill up a bucket with some fresh water out of our shower and tip that into the cassette to rinse it. Oh, the things you have to do in winter time, eh? So it seems like our cold water pipes are frozen in the caravan. None of the cold water taps except the kitchen one are coming out, but the hot still works. So as much as we love the hoarfrost, this is part of the struggle. I guess it's easy to show you all the best bits, but there sure are some challenges. So stuff can get pretty yuck. Having full water tanks stops them from freezing overnight as well. And that way you kind of it's harder to freeze a lot of water than a little bit of water. What we do overnight to stop our caravan water pipes from freezing is we turn our water pump off and then we just open our taps. We've had our outside tap frozen for a week once, and we had no access to using our outside tap, which is completely fine. I guess you do worry that when it thaws out, is that pipe going to have split or cracked somewhere with expanding ice in the pipe? We have insulated all of our pipes. This does not stop the water from freezing in them though. I guess it's helpful for those nights that are maybe -2, -3. Might help stop that water from freezing in there if you forget to turn your pump off. But when it's really cold, -6, -7, those pipes will freeze. It's important to get that pump off and the water lines opened, so that way even a little bit of excess water that's in there, if it freezes, you can still get water coming through from your tanks that's not frozen. That's what's important, to keep them full. So it's a little helpful tip there about water. We're also carrying a 20-litre freshwater container that our friend Rob gave to us. Thanks, Rob. We just keep that filled up with water as well. We keep a stack of water bottles, just like empty Coke bottles, in the caravan for overnight. We've got a squirty one for our toilet flush overnight when we turn the water off. Keep the jug full, so that way we've got water for coffee in the morning. And yeah, we've got 2 or 3, well, probably 5 litres of water at least in the caravan. Nice and warm in there with the heater going. So we've got access to water in the morning. We've had it before that our caravan water pipes were all frozen except for the kitchen sink tap. So it does happen in those more extreme situations. How are we staying warm in our caravan is a common question we get. I think people think we're letting our kids freeze and suffer in this lifestyle. But no, we do not want to be cold. We're very warm in our caravan. Our diesel heater temperature actually is thermostat, which is great. So we can crank that all the way up to 35 degrees. What that means is our diesel heater will just start burning through the diesel really quick to get us up to that temperature, and that's actually way too hot. We normally have it at 13 for sleeping, and we run it all night. We do not turn it off, and on these cold days we just leave it running all day. We'll just leave it at 13, or we might turn it to 10. Even if we go out to town and do some jobs, we'll just leave the diesel heater on, set it to 10 degrees, because the caravan can get really cold in a short time, and you come back and it takes a little while to get it warmed up and you just want to be warm. So we just sometimes leave our diesel heater running. We have got an oversized tank, so we've got a 16-litre diesel heater tank. On a really cold -5, -8 kind of night, we will burn through 3 or 4 litres of diesel, keeping warm, which I guess that's the thing to consider about whether you pay for a powered site. We also have a 240-volt fan heater just from the warehouse, like a little one. You only need a little one, and if we go and plug into power, then we just run that fan heater. It's a bit of a way to save some money. Then it also means we don't have to use our generator, save on petrol, save on diesel, not using the diesel heater. So sometimes it can be a bit convenient to find a powered site. We've also got a 10-litre jerry can that we can top up the caravan's diesel heater. Saves us having to take the caravan into the gas station. We can just fill up our little jerry can, and that gives us another 2 or 3 nights easy. At the recording of this video, it is the 16th of June, so we're 5 days away from the shortest day. We've had 2 nights that have dropped down to -6. But otherwise it's not been too cold really. We've had a few -4s as well, but then we've also had some nights where it's been not even a frost. So those kinds of nights we're not really burning through too much diesel to keep the caravan warm. Other people, if they have a UK van, they often have LPG heating all built in, so they're just running through gas bottles instead of diesel. Okay, and the final point, why do we choose to put ourselves in the coldest places in winter? And we've had to think about that one, and I think it's just because we find it really motivating. We find it really fun to get out, to go and see the cold, to be in the frost. You know, we find it really exciting walking around and finding frozen lakes and ponds and picking up the ice and smashing it, and all of those kinds of things. Being in the snow, like waking up, it's such a novelty to do those kinds of things. Whereas when we've had winters in the North Island, the frost melts by 9 o'clock. The days get warm. It's dark early. We just don't find that as exciting as being in like these proper seasons. We really love the proper seasons. We love the cold in the winter. We love the hot in the summer. Previous winters we've kind of found ourselves alone, but seems to be a lot of families out there chasing similar experiences with their kids. There's been about 5 families where we've been camping. Lots of kids. The kids have been running around outside in the dark with their torches, getting soaking wet shoes and wet clothes, but having a really good time. Us adults have been piling into someone else's caravan. It's got plenty of seating for us all, and we have a yarn and a couple of beers and talk until we're ready to chuck our kids into bed. So it's been pretty sociable, been pretty fun. So I guess, is it hard being in the caravan in the cold? Like, we don't find that, because we get out and we go and do stuff in the day, because we find that cold weather motivating. And I guess it's similar to being in a house, right? In a house you have some of the same problems. Like if it's wet and cold outside, you kind of just sit down, watch a movie, read a book, do some craft. We can do all of those same things. The kids get the Lego out, they do some paintings, they watch TV, they talk to their friends online or family. Yeah, there's plenty to do. Sometimes if it drags on a bit too long, we might tow down to the coast, go somewhere that's got some good public hot pools, go and do, some of the jobs that we might need to do, like at the week, go to the warehouse or, op shopping, all of those kinds of things. It's we've got options, we've got flexibility that we can just pack up and go, head somewhere else. Sometimes we even avoid like rainy or windy places. We want to go somewhere where the weather might be a bit more settled. So that's part of the joy of this lifestyle, is that we can wing it, we can make it up as we go, and we can change our plans. Well, this video might have left you with more questions than answers, so if you've got some more questions, fire them in the comments. I'll answer them all, and also feel free if you've got any tips to add. I don't have all of the answers, I'm just sharing our experience and what we've done. Fire those in the comments below too, because I'm sure some other people will flick through and read them, and maybe get a bit of some ideas anyway. But yeah, thanks for watching everyone. We'll see you in our next episode.